will be so important for the early game.
Of course, G2 not just fighting MLXG, Xiaohu, and all of RNG, but all their fans here in Wuhan as well as we enter picks and bans. Zaya Gragas taken off the board. Jarvan Kalista, very standard from what we've seen so far.
I do like the Jarvan ban as a response to the Gragas, because it felt like RNG were really looking for a proactive jungler in particular and another jungle mismatch. Stylistically, these two players, MLXG and Trick, are polar opposites in terms of style. We can get into the nitty-gritty later in the cast, but we expect MLXG to play around his lanes almost exclusively, and denying him options is important for the side of G2.
RNG doing G2 a bit of a favor by banning the Iron here because we need
faith.
We need to see G2, or we need to see Trick on a more aggressive jungler. We can actually have an impact early because he needs to be able to match MLXG. You can't just sit back and farm versus this guy because he will just get his own lanes ahead.
I hear he's a sick Nunu.
He does play Nunu. Sick Nunu, I'm not too sure. We don't want to see Nunu either. We need something where Trick can gank or counter gank so that Perkz in the early game can get some help. Talia is available in this game here. She's been banned in some of the other ones. Galio as well, if people want to play these champions that can... God damn it, G2! Whatever, play these champions who can move around from mid.
All right, well, aside from Deficio's crushing disappointment for all of Europe and specifically G2 esports at the moment, the Nunu still has not been locked in, although I feel like they were doing that just for you.
The best thing is they can't even hear you, or us.
They know.
It looks like it will instead be the Lulu first pick. Much more standard from what we expect. Strong, aggressive, pushing support paired with the power of the Ardent. Very standard bot lane for G2.
And will it just be something like the Twitch Janna as the response, given that Janna versus Lulu was almost cemented?
Or the Varus coming in from Uzi if he wants a stronger laning phase. And Varus with Janna to protect him in fights and build the Rage Plate is also very, very good, obviously.
That would be the respect choice. This is Uzi, though, and the Vayne could certainly be around the corner.
Yeah, or the Twitch.
That was the likely one that I mentioned.
Okay.
So.
And here's the thing. If you're watching this matchup as a fan, you don't want to see Varus versus Tristana. You want both late game scaling carries. You want both of these guys to have the potential
You realize
to go off.
that you suggested that Uzi go on containment duty. No one contains Uzi.
Hey,
Uzi...
you can carry as Varus. You can win your lane.
But Twitch, oh, it's so much sweeter, and it's a very nice answer to what we have in the late game.
All right, so we're getting something now from Trick that can actually match in the early game. MLXG, even on Sejuani, you would think, he's just gonna farm to level 6. No. I've seen level 2 ganks, level 3 ganks, level 4 ganks, level 5 ganks. You need something that can at least apply pressure. That is what the Rek'Sai will bring from G2's side. Also works against the Twitch.
And it would be Clearlove-esque if he went the Cinderhulk build. We've seen both Warrior and Cinderhulk Rek'Sai played pretty commonly at this tournament. We'll see the rest of the draft will really suggest. In the ban phase, it's been almost purely mid lane focused. Of course, Galio can flex to the top side.
And now the opportunity, G2 are going to get the last pick, but they're not even worried about it. They're saving it for top lane. Perkz feeling confident in the mid lane rise.
We saw it yesterday as well. It is such an important pick in this current meta because it's a good laning phase where there's not really any matchup that shuts you down, and then you have that ulti to move you and your team around the map. This is really the game where we're harboring some of the,
This is really the game where we
picks.
wonder if people can hear Deficio. Both the Nunu and the Vayne hovered. Not going to be the case, however, but the Jace getting locked in so frequently banned away.
And this is RNG saying, expect, can't take it in a carry matchup. That's part of the Jace. I'm thinking it's going to be top lane Jace. No, it's not. It's actually the mid lane Jace.
Oh, interesting. A lot of physical damage then from RNG. G2 looking to just stack as much armor as possible. Wonder if they're going to play pure tank in the top lane for that reason, or if they want to just counterpick the Maokai. Trundle is there, Gnar is there, Nasus is there. I got to say that.
Shen also a possibility when it comes to a containment lane and also an armor stacker.
But for Expect, getting his hands on the Gnar, it's a good look for him. Likes to play those more carry-oriented styles, even if he can be the tank for the team.
And let's take a look at the lanes here, because you have top lane counter pick for G2.
Yep.
With the Gnar taking over that lane at least later on. Bot lane with the Lulu Tristana, we've seen that already beat Twitch Janna as well.
And interesting here, Xiaohu has not played Jace at all this summer. Deciding to bring it out here against Perkz, against G2 esports.
To me, Trick is the really interesting heartbeat to follow in this game, because 2 out of 3 lanes priority goes the way of G2 eSports. And if we can see a vintage jungle performance here, an aggressive one from the side of the Rek'Sai, G2 have a lot of options in the early game, the late game. That's also, when you talk about the single damage type, one that G2 should be pretty comfortable in.
Obviously, they will be facing double tank on the side of RNG, and then a Twitch who can sit behind them with a Janna to protect. So it is a tough late game to play against. It's only really Xiaohu who might struggle to have a lot of impact there. Obviously, on the side of G2, a lot of it comes down to execution then with the Meganar. And Rek'Sai is tough to play later on as well.
Sure.
You're more or less just soaking damage.
And for me, big question mark is Trick in the jungle on the Rek'Sai continues to be, because he's never been the aggressive jungler since the departure of Graves really from the meta. Was much more comfortable when tanks first arise. It was him who first really picked up the Sejuani, made it his own, started to bring G2 back up in the standings. Now having to be the one to set the pace in this game. We enter our final game of the first round robin, and you can hear Wuhan fans of the LPL, all of China feels rallied around RNG in this game. 3-0 could be their score if they find the win here.
I mean, expectations around RNG are skyrocketing. You look at the players and all of them phenomenally individually talented, but it didn't mean enough for them to win LPL Summer. A lot of these members have been together for a while now. Greatness has not followed in the way you might expect. But until those wheels come off, until we see them lose a game, you can't help but look at RNG like a real contender for more than just this group, but for the world's crown itself.
For now, a lot of it is going to come down to the early game. Will they make it to the late game stage? Will the scaling of the comps even matter that much in the end, or will this be blown wide open in the early to mid game?
Keystone's a flash, and look at Trick. He is actually running Fervor, so he's gone for a very aggressive Keystone choice here. Cinderhawk's so it's not Cinderhawk, I should say. Courage has kind of fallen away as a choice for the Rek'Sai. This doesn't necessarily tell us Warrior or Cinderhawk, but it's notable nonetheless.
Yeah, I think Fervor, it's been the standard at least for most of the junglers lately, and obviously Trick will be able with this Rek'Sai to actually play around perks in the mid lane. Jace is bringing Cleanse though to try and defend himself.
And this is why it's a real fun thing to talk about, because you look at the numbers. We mentioned MLXG and Trick are different. If you look at jungle proximity, the team jungle proximity for MXG, the amount of time he looks for ganks, well, 47.6%. Very, very high. First at Worlds. You then look at his mid lane proximity, first at Worlds. Get Xiaohu ahead. Let Xiaohu influence the other lanes. Consider that it's actually G2 that have drafted what we've seen so many times. Rek'Sai going in after the instant snare from Ryze. So it's trying to fight fire with fire, but it's not the usual mindset of G2.
Yeah, again, that's the funny thing about G2, because they will have these weeks where they don't want to gank mid at all with Trick. But then when it really matters, especially in playoffs, after they struggle against Splice in the quarterfinals, they learned for the semifinal and the final that actually we should just play around mid lane. And suddenly Trick started being around perks much more. They started camping the lane. Obviously, it's something again that goes up and down. In this game, I am expecting him to pay attention to this perks lane and try and get the Ryze ahead, because when you're winning mid, you can roam first to the bottom lane, and when our sensors are completed, you can time those roams with the big power spike and you can start taking down towers.
And it's surreal that it's G2 with that combination, though. You said Misfits with the Ryze, Rek'Sai, you certainly believe it, but so many mid lane options available. If you don't see mid lane ganks, that would be a surprise in itself.
Interesting now, entire top side clear comes in for Trick, not opting to take the blue buff. Does, as a Rek'Sai, have the option to donate that away to perks, maybe set him up for further success, but would cost him heavily in experience.
One thing I want you guys to take away, Twitch Janna was the choice. It is Relic Shield from Uzi. Uzi earlier this week was actually going much more laning. Doran's Blade, Doran's Shield, the laning choices, so he's actually opted into the more difficult 2v2 and also the Relic to help his support.
Let's see if G2 have done their homework on MLXG, if they're expecting any early ganks. He's looking top very early. This wave is pushing towards Let Me, so expect will eventually overextend, but because Trick cleared his entire top side jungle, there is no camp for MLXG to take while he's waiting for Expect to push the lane.
But when he sees the top side of the jungle is completely cleared, he lets, of course, his team know the bot side is where Trick is at.
They're calling back, yeah, we don't care, we're sitting at tower, dude.
Fair.
Stop talking to us.
Unfortunate state of the match. Of course, Targon's not necessarily an item, or rather Relic Shield, to win you your lane. Lots of gold generation here for Uzi, but he knows his place in the early laning phase, just waiting to scale up.
I just want to talk about Cole then on Sven a little bit, because I often see people say, greedy, or wow, how can you win lane with Cole?
Disrespect.
That's so weird. Yeah, exactly. The thing about Cole is, especially against Janna lanes, if you don't need an 80 HP from a Doran's Blade, the Cole is basically just as good, if not even slightly better for early laning, because you get 1 less AD, but you get 3 HP per hit, not 3% lifesteal. So you actually get more sustained back with the Cole, and of course, the gold.
I mean, if you're Sven, you look on the other side, you see Sejuani, probably not going to be ganks early. You see the Twitch Janna know that they're going to be on the defensive side. Janna very rarely auto attacks in lane until the changes on 719 forward. So at the end of the day, there is almost no risk to Cole, so it's an intelligent buy, and it really is a good read of the game.
Yeah, exactly. When you lane against Twitch, very often you get hit a few times, and then you get a poison on you, and you're never really going to get bursted down. So again, flat HP is not that important. It's more actually about sustain. Against Twitch lanes, as you can see here, a few hits going back and forth, and that's about it.
Sven and Mithy definitely willing to commit the cooldowns here just to try to get an advantage in the lane, but of course Uzi doing a very good job of keeping up in CS, matching the pressure so far. Cole, the really only difference when it comes to gold generation, although the Janna will get a bit more, and MLXG is making his way to the bottom side.
That's what I love about him. He's so creative in his pathing. He's finding a way down to the bottom lane. Will the lack of 80 HP cost Sven or not?
Forward, has a bit of damage, Mithy has committed to the trade, no polymorph burn, has used the shield. MLXG is such a patient hunter, he's looking for his prey. Sven walking towards the bush, has to be careful. The dash going to be, this man is waiting so long, but G2 are meanwhile making a play on the top side. Trick is here, Perks is here, they have the point click CC. They can't keep this going, Maganard's on the way, but I don't even think they're going to need it. They are burning through Letney, but the healing is coming in. The double jump coming out, and that's going to be first blood, but it's traded back.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, MLG just backed away. I was waiting for the camera to cut down for another fight. We've seen G2 now try multiple times to go top lane early with Perks and Trick. Expect had to give up his life for that one.
It was almost perfectly done, but Expect did not transform into Meganar. And when you see those turret shots, it was about 5, it was ramping up. It felt like it couldn't have overkilled him by that much. So good attempt by G2, but trading in a 3-for-1 scenario and losing a mountain of turret HP is certainly not ideal for G2.
Exactly. Expect is also saving his teleport because the minion wave was so close to RNG's tower he could let it push back. So that is available for potential fight on the bottom side. But let's see the dive again here. Let me know, stay near the tower, gets the CC down as well, and knocks Expect back in towards his turret as well.
250 damage from that last shot this early meant the squishy Gnar could do nothing. And if we see Jace take the mid lane turret, hold that thought for a moment. So Trick is following Let Me, Rice around.
Moving in, does not have the ultimate available. Sejuani nearby, MLXG not too concerned, but they see him on a wall.
But think of the flow on. Jace takes mid lane turret. We know how much damage he can do to turrets when he's left to his own devices. Then you see RNG switch Twitch and Janna to mid lane. There's not going to be any way to really pressure that 2v2 if they see the mirror coming through from G2. Rai's going to have less space if he's going to pop in the side lane to make the map plays. In terms of tempo, losing mid lane turret actually sets G2 behind it more than a lot of team comps.
And we have to remember, this is not a team you want to lose any kind of tempo, any kind of advantage against. Because when we saw RNG up against Samsung, we saw how quickly they can close out a game, how confidently they can close out a game when you give them absolutely anything.
That's the thing, they have so many great stats. On the screen here, we have the gold difference. They have been so good in the post 20-minute mark, finishing these games early, to the extent where another stat I can give you, we talked already, BDD, first week done, no deaths. Xiaohu, Let Me, and Ming are all deathless this week as well. So when it gets going, when the going gets good, sorry, for RNG, it works well, as Let Me's first death did come in this game.
But now we look on the bottom side, maybe Trick will make his presence known here. Already did some work on snowballing the top side. For now, Expect actually pretty comfortable to keep trading, but Let Me not giving him an easy edge.
Yeah, basically what G2 tried to do was kind of push this Gnar matchup forward. Because we know Gnar later on in the game, especially with Black Cleaver, would be so annoying in the side lane. They wanted to get there faster. They try to deny CS from the Maokai and get some damage on this tower because they know eventually Expect will kill the tower if they just leave him now in a 1 versus 1 and they can start looking towards the bottom lane. Ardent Sensor not completed yet, but we're getting close.
He's here on the bottom side, looking for the Prey Seeker connect, not going to find any purchase. Not a big enough wave to force a dive, but the tower is getting lower and lower.
And this is just from 2v2 laning here from G2 eSports. Sven and Mithy with a very good matchup. This is why Varus could have been an option for Uzi to have a better lane. He took the Twitch, and he's paying for it at the
Flash
moment.
forward, the chain CC on the top side. Quick flash out from Expect. RNG hoping to get something back. Don't even know that the Dragon is being taken away from them as they speak. G2 poised to take the bot lane tower as well. Xiaohu is moving up to the top side, but it may not matter. Tower first blood gonna drop for G2. Nice early boom.
They're looking to trade up in objectives. It's taking a long time for RNG to match turrets. That's with the Drake already cemented for the side of G2. So G2 will have their first option. They can send their duo lane to the top lane, but probably going to be a dead turret to dive.
Leaping forward, has the level 6. Expect is now in trouble. He's just going to go down. No reason to contest there, but Perkz is running into the mix as well. Gets the flash out. Tower not going to go down easily. Meanwhile, the G2 bottom lane is moving into the mid lane. They're trying to double down on their advantages.
Wow, they actually managed to defend it. That was a greedy play from Expecto and very good punish from RNG.
But it's big if they're able to actually force 2v2 and get a free turret. That death, working out whether it's worth it is so difficult, but at the end of the day, being able to force 2v2 on G2's terms is big.
Yeah, very big for now, but if RNG in the next few minutes can return to either mid or top lane, they can get a lot of gold back. They lost a bit with, of course, the Maokai dying first, and now this play up top here where they kill Expect but not the tower. They're so close to taking down these objectives, however, and cashing in.
Tempo in the early game here is so important as Perkz does force the flash away from MLXG. If RNG could have taken mid lane turret, waited till Hurricane was done, which is done now, and put Twitch and Janna in the mid lane, that was the gold standard. When you see the Tristana, you know that G2 are looking to get the big turret lead themselves. They already have equally low top lane turret.
And this Hurricane Rush Twitch is something we really seen a lot of now during Worlds, and it's simply because you will have the Ardent Sensor and you will have your Fervor as well on Twitch here, so you don't actually need early AD to still deal some proper damage, and it does give you a bit of wave clear.
Things looking pretty good right now for the G2 bottom lane. The Analyst desk highlighted the mid lane. It's definitely going to be crucial, but we see the first Ardent coming in for Mithy and Sven, and Sven versus Uzi is somewhere that you have to
mid lane.
look. At the moment, it's more about Perkz and Trick. They're leaping forward. Let's immediately burn Xiao, who's going to make it out.
Both summoners used though. No sustain available for Uzi. Not even the paper sustain that comes through from the Keystone Master that can be taken down. The offensive Fervor choice.
And look at this here. CS difference at 15 minutes for Uzi is 9.1 normally. In this game here, he's down almost 20 CS. He's lost his bot lane tower. This top lane tower will die soon as well, but that was a good trade.
Important to note, that's not necessarily Uzi sucking in lane. It was a reality of the matchups that have been taken, but certainly a feel-good stat. Aside G2, they can take aggressive trades because of the on-hit lifesteal on the Ardent Sensor. And the RNG dream of mid lane, pushing fast with Hurricane, then roaming with the Titch invisibility, is still impossible.
And RNG has been committing to the bottom side with 3 members and letting G2 take this tower and start the Rift Held. MLXG is moving in towards it. I want to see if they actually... No, they don't even want to stop it. They're just going to give it up and hope that Xiaohu can take mid tower. And
it's not an accident that Sven is flashing the G2 eSports logo every time he takes an objective in the face of Uzi, 30 CS up. Uzi's temperament is something that is known to every watcher around the world. And if simply pressing a button and once again getting in the head of one of the legendary AD carries in the history of League of Legends is working, then he's doing his job.
Has to be frustrating for Uzi right now. You look across from yourself. The Cole is now finished up. Sven's got the extra gold. That means a static ship. He can push anywhere he wants to on the map, and the next target is mid lane. 1 tower at a time. G2 grinding this advantage out. Twitch still at a single item, not the major threat he needs to be.
Exactly, and the fact you have lost so much damage on your towers doesn't matter if they're still alive. And with G2 continuing to push and apply pressure, well, RNG are currently sitting with 0 turrets. That's Rift Held coming in the mid lane. Will not instantly kill the tower, but get a bit more damage on it.
There to tank it for Sven. MLXG waiting over the wall. Sven has to be careful. No cleanse effects to get him out to safety if he needs it. MLXG looking to start. He does manage to land it on Sven. Sven is not out yet. He's leaping to safety. He gets cut down mid-air. Nice pick off by RNG.
They will turn onto the Rift Tower. They will not lose their mid turret. Sven pushed up, felt like he had enough coverage with the Rek'Sai right behind him, but it did not work out.
Let's see what RNG can get in return now. 10 seconds on Sven still. Mid lane tower low. Top lane, no one is there, but bot lane we have Let Me pushing at the moment. Getting a bit more damage on that turret. RNG so badly want to get this gold here so they can get Uzi towards that Infinity Edge.
The ult already burned from Sejuani, not going to be able to force out mid lane tower. The wave clear is here. Luckily for them, the Jace now with the Youmu's. Easy for him to cut through this tower if he's given the opportunity. MLXG is here as well, and that means RNG are going to grab their first tower of the game.
And we review what we talked about in picks and bans. There will be a time when G2 eSports can stack armor and feel good. That time is not now. Get to watch the mid lane as well. Sven walks up, not expecting MLXG from the ramp.
It's a great engage from MLXG. You can try and flash away from it, but you got to be ready in the second it happens. And if you're just delaying a little bit, you will get hit and you will die.
You can see he feels a bit
That's your
perturbed.
face then.
It's definitely Sven face, but with G2, remember also that for RNG, okay, the armor will come in for G2, but when you have a Jace, honestly, it's much more about damage to structures, and that will never fall away on the side of RNG. So stopping the bleeding of immediate gold. If they find themselves on equal gold footing, even get 2 picks, turrets explode to Jace Twitch. They hit 2 items on the Twitch. Team fights at this point, before Gnar gets real armor items, are still going to be explosive. So RNG really are focused on not trading down at any point in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, they did lose that mid lane tower during the replay from before here. G2 now pushing in the bottom lane. Drake is spawning in a few seconds. They should be able to just kill that one very quickly and start going towards the next one. First, a bit of damage on the bottom lane tower.
Trying to siege up. G2 definitely at the edge right now. Infernal plus a 3k gold lead at 15 minutes. Looking pretty good. Only 1 kill to their name on perks, but just the structure gold giving them so much. Now a Cloud Drake should be theirs to take for free. What are RNG going to get back in exchange? For now, it looks like topside jungle vision.
That is a correct play from RNG here, just cross map. You can give up this Cloud Drake if it means you kill the top lane tower. You want gold right now, you don't want Drakes.
Exactly. Gold, getting those items before armor can realistically be balanced with damage is RNG's goal right now. They will make very quick work of this top lane turret and also get that insurance with the advanced vision that no Baron plays can come through from G2 when it spawns in about 4 minutes time.
Hypercharger cuts through the tower. One of the big things we always talk about when we look at teams getting a lead. The hallmark of great teams is being able to come back and being able to snowball a lead. Well, we're waiting on RNG to come back to even things up. But for G2, who need to prove themselves in this game, if they want to make it out of the group, if they want to prove they're worthy of being EU LCS's #1 seed in the world, they need to show that they can turn this into more than just a few towers and find a much bigger advantage.
It's tricky to do that when easy objectives like outer turrets are taken down. The 2 Drakes definitely are a credit to G2, but engineering multi-step plans to get deep vision against a comp with Twitch and a Sejuani that has already surprised them is more difficult than you'd expect. If he's in the mid lane wave clearing, sure, you have eyes on the Twitch, but getting the sort of vision that Samsung were frustrated out of in the last game, the 2 wards on one side to actually be able to push up and take inner turrets will frustrate G2 unless the Realm Warp can be the equalizer.
Exactly, like pushing all the way down to a tier 2 tower this early often means you won't have vision on both sides because there are 2 jungles you gotta ward up basically at the same time, and you gotta then keep that vision control going while you're sieging on this objective, and it's almost impossible to do, so that's why teams settle for just pushing the waves towards and past the enemy tier 1 turrets and then get river vision and wait for Baron to spawn. So this is often where the game just kind of slows down for some minutes.
Now, the flashy play du jour has been the Ryze Zhonya's ultimates so far this time. We've seen a lot of them. Zhonya's, obviously, the armor portion going to be great against RNG, but that does mean that Perks can kind of copy Crown yesterday, who bought a lot of time, split pushing alone, and then having an almost guaranteed escape, and maybe that, drawing on multiple members will allow them to
Look at this here, RNG, they want to fight.
Versus the bait, who's the one who could be in trouble. Ultimate's going to come out. Perks has to cleanse and flash immediately to safety. Mega Gnar is here, but he's going to turn mini almost immediately. Does not want to complete the teleport. Pressure on the bottom side, but RNG in control.
You get such a good play from them. They just remove the Maokai from the bottom lane. They don't want to sit and just split push against the Gnar, and they force a fight mid to try and take down the tower and force the teleport from Expect here. This turret is so low, but RNG, they're playing it very safe and stepping away.
Don't want to risk giving anything else up. Expect is already pushing in on the bottom side. They know the importance of gold, but farm equally crucial to the tower gold in a lot of circumstances.
And I think we both, Fisher, have to step back and say it's a light touch from RNG. This is not over-aggression. This is not over-forcing in a line ball game where there's clearly only about 2,000 to 3,000 gold advantage. It's not the RNG we saw in the LPL. I love seeing them be smart and just forcing out objectives and not diving in for a fight, not over-pursuing. They're just using the tools they have right now to the maximum and forcing G2 into really bad situation.
And taking tools away from G2, the cleanse and the flash gone from Perkz is massive before we even have Oceania's completed. No get out of jail free card, no easy escape for Perkz if he does get cowed out here on a side lane.
And it's once again G2 waiting for Baron to spawn and waiting for the next Drake to spawn at the same time. It should mean Uzi gets his Infinity Edge before that big objective is here, currently sitting on only about 400 gold. So there's still a bit of time for G2, but obviously rushing down a 20-minute Baron is not exactly easy.
I mean, the game's stalled out, and if you consider what we're seeing on our screens, Sven walks up, pushes a minion wave, Twitch gets all the waves, all the minions. So the outscale duo, and both Twitch and Tristana obviously strong in the late game, but Twitch Janna as a duo, I believe, very, very, very powerful when it comes to the current meta, is getting equal CS with the Tristana that was snowballing, that was dictating the pace of the game just 8 minutes ago, and that's ideal for RNG.
So it's important now that G2 are ready for Baron to spawn so they can start putting pressure there. Not necessarily rush it down, but put pressure, and that's basically by putting down these early control wards and then deep vision in the enemy jungle. So now, RNG constantly have to think to themselves, they could be on Baron. We gotta stay around, we gotta maybe go in and try and face check and see what's happening. And that does give openings for G2 to either get a bit of damage on RNG or maybe start a full-on fight.
RNG do get to play their side lanes. Maokai has the teleport advantage. That's what you expect, leading with his face.
Gonna pick up the blue buff as well. Important to take it away from the Jace, not the tier Jace of old. All lethality and armor penetration means he can run out of mana very quickly in a fight. Now a 2k gold difference between them. G2 maybe hoping for some mountain drakes instead of the Infernal in the cloud, but still a good look.
And it's so many small steps now, because once you get down your control wards in that river near the Baron, you can go into the enemy jungle, get a bit of damage, maybe steal a camp, and then you gotta reset. You gotta go back to base and rebuy your new control wards. So while the enemy team is coming in to kill your current ones, you return with new ones instantly and get back to control.
I think reset's a great word, because resetting expectations is actually relevant just to item spikes in this game. I read this that if Infinity Edge, which should be completed soon, comes in, then I think teamfight-wise, RNG win true 5v5s until the armor comes in later. So reading where the game is at is very subtle in this particular matchup.
So now we just saw RNG there kill the wards away from the Baron. G2 saying, we don't care, because we know you have to go back to base now and buy your new items and get your new wards. And then G2, if they want to, can just walk straight back in, get the new control wards down, and you have this little dance happening until a team is strong enough to actually kill the Baron itself. Mythy playing it very safe, just placing a ward over to check if anything is happening.
But there's no tank on the side of G2. If they want to start this Baron, who takes the damage? Rek'Sai, a decent option, but it's definitely not the Maokai.
Lulu shields with a Rek'Sai, the stacking armor is enough to sit in front of Baron.
And I love the dance, because League of Legends is a dance. It takes two to tango. I love how right now we're getting to the point where the dance style will suit RNG. When Infinity Edge now complete, I feel like right now they win fights. When the slow dance comes, when the late game comes, armor items will be there for G2. So it's so subtle, but where the pendulum swings right now, I feel like RNG, if they get a 5v5, they're gonna gleefully accept it and go straight 5v5.
Terrifying prospect, especially now with Uzi finishing 2 items, having the Jaina, the AD steroid, much more impactful than the little procs of picks on the side of Mythy. They got the early lane control, it got them their lead, but now there is a difference in what the supports can bring. As we move later into the game, Trick fighting hotly for the blue buff. MLXG will take it away. Has to be careful though. Let Me is here. Expect coming in along the backside, but has Let Me overstayed his welcome. Expect coming in. Multiple members going to get CC'd up, but the route has been blocked. That means Sven has free right to approach onto the back line. Let Me still alive. Trick is actually the one who might just be in trouble. He has to flash out. Safety trying to hold on. Sven knocking back the team. Disengage comes out.
So right there we see a few flashes being traded and heal as well used by Ming. Cloud Drake will once again go over to G2. They would have wished for something different, so that more scaling to go forward, but you can't always get what you want, and they'll have to settle for 2 Cloud Drakes and a bit more movement speed.
And it was a team move by Uzi. I don't think you really felt like Quadra Kill was coming out. He was ulting to allow his tank to actually get away. You don't want to give away inner turrets that so far G2 have been frustrated at trying to pick up. They get the Drake, that means they have a backup win condition later, as the Elder Dragon's going to be basically full power, 4 to 5 stacks, probably the 4, given when the timer was taken. Things reset though, no significant advantage yet to G2 after all their great early work.
Exactly, and then when there's no Drake alive, we go right back to the same Baron dance we saw before with trading control wards against each other. Trick losing that flash though is pretty big for RNG, because that is the main engage right now for G2, unless Expect can find that big opening.
I'm just feeling giddy to Fisher. I saw some people watching this saying, where are the kills? I thought it was promised kills.
RNG
I was promised kills, to be fair.
but we're getting closer and closer to Uzi and Sven 5v5 fights, Xiaohu and Perks 5v5 fights. The inevitability of the Ardent Sensor meta. In some games, it can be a drag, but in this game, I think it will be something beautiful. So it sucks that right now we don't have them, but no team is making mistakes. Both teams are playing very smart. Waiting for the main event. It hasn't come yet, but the undercard, it's looking good.
Now, of course, a small boon for G2. While they may have given up some of the advantage that they held early in the game, they still got the Dragons, and of course Frozen Mallet now coming in for Gnar as well means it's much easier for him to be a source of pressure for the G2 lineup.
It's an important little thing that Uzi is doing very often in this game. He's not instantly showing himself in lanes, and when you play against a Twitch, especially as a Gnar who wants to split push, you constantly need information on where he is on the map, because otherwise he might sneak into your lane with the Maokai and just kill you in no time.
In a different game, Jace takes the mid lane turret, Twitch with Hurricane goes mid, pushes the wave, pulls back. Where's Twitch? Where's Twitch? Could be anywhere on the map. That's the big thing that Twitch, when he can go mid lane, allows you to do. You can see right now, actually, Twitch walking through control wards, making his way to the mid lane. Uzi continuing those headaches for G2, but he'll show himself soon.
Now moving in, MLFG thinks he's found the engage. Trick has to back off. Sen gonna make that safety, but there is no flash veil for Trick. RNG are looking to punish, but one more tunnel is gonna take him out to safety and stop the fight in its tracks.
We have right now Perk sitting in the top lane, so RNG feel confident forcing the engage. No flash from Trick still. Perks will get the push going, so someone needs to deal with that from RNG's side, giving G2 control of mid.
No,
actually, they want to fight again.
Twitch. Looking to get it started. Maokai moving in. That could be the pick that they need. Goodbye to Sven. RNG take control in the mid lane.
And again, the creativity right here from RNG is surprising G2. They're thinking everything is going by the book. But then suddenly, Let Me shows up once again. He's not sitting in that bottom lane.
And the defensive play works until it doesn't. No flash from Let Me, but he leapt across the screen with the Righteous Glory. With the Twitch ultimate down, G2 did not give respect to another attempt, but that time it worked a treat.
You gotta be so fast in your thinking here, because they are looking at that wave in top lane saying, okay, someone from RNG is gonna go and kill that wave. They're not gonna fight in the mid lane right now, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, the engage happens. Look how confident they are in pushing forward. Basically saying there's no way they're gonna 5-man mid, and then they're here.
Any target would do. Hit everything onto Sven, dies instantly. That was the second round, of course. We saw the first one earlier. That will be the break of the mid lane turret. Second Sven reaction cam. He's starting to feel the pinch.
That's the confidence, and it's so hard when there's so much CC. The point click of the Maokai locking him down. Difficult life for a Tristana, especially when you've already burned things like the rocket jump.
It's also because there's been this line of control wards from RNG in their own jungle, which has allowed Let Me to move from bot lane to this mid lane quite a few times and surprise G2 eSports just due to the lack of vision or information on where he is. That was without flash. He still got on to the Tristana and forced both summoners from Sven. That is huge for the next fight, and it's forcing G2 to play more passive now and giving the control over to RNG.
It's amazing how squared up RNG have become in terms of the fundamentals of the game. The ceilings, we know all these players individually have them. The fundamentals
Finding it works. So you get locked up, looking for more stacks. Can he get out?
Yep.
Yes, free escape for the Rise.
Well, he can face check at least, so that's good for him.
Uzi will get hit there by the Prey Seeker, still invisible. Expect has to give respect to this. Boomerang will slow up. Frozen Mallet means he's got a pretty easy path out as long as they don't get on top of him. G2 holding on. 5 members strong on both sides. Dancing around this mid lane, dancing around this Baron.
I really like Uzi respecting all the armor on G2, getting that early last whisper and fully upgrading it as well. He knows he will already get some attack speed from this Janna here. He's ready to take over a team fight.
And it's a different build. It's double Zeal item, the much more standard build coming through from G2, even though RNG have the stronger front line, double super tank with Sejuani and Maokai. So I think Uzi's made the read. If one of those tanks die, the rest of the team is probably going to fall like butter. So killing Expect to, of course, is only tanky on a budget. Ninja Tabi and also some flat resists. And Trick also, who's on a jungler's budget. At this point in the game, it's very difficult for G2 to move forward with limited information, and with the Twitch, that's almost always.
Now the game suddenly so even. All it takes is one more pick in the favor of RNG to balance everything out. Sven getting caught out again, twice now, and has been such a big weak point for G2. And on the one hand, you can't blame him because so much CC is coming through, but also, what else can G2 do to protect him? If he gets picked off again, it will most surely be a Baron for RNG at this point in the game.
That's why it's so tense. When both teams are this even, if one team can win a team fight and take Baron, they tend to just kind of snowball out of control, taking down multiple towers. They're sneaking in behind, but there's a ward.
You know it's there. Need to burn it down quickly. No Mountain Drakes, ready to move out at a moment's notice. See that they're spotted and just back out.
Yeah, and it might be weird, like why they're not sweeping it or why they're not putting down a control ward first there to see if there is a ward they can kill, but it's because they know they have a backup here to get out with the Rise ulti.
And they know that every point of damage needed to go into the Baron to give them even a chance of taking it down. No 4 hits onto a ward, or 3 onto a regular ward. Does mean that they sacrifice control of the Infernal, answering Infernal for RNG.
And small correction right there from my previous point. They actually placed the control ward just when they tunneled over, but it's so far back in the pit that it doesn't actually see the ward in front of Baron. Still, it is actually a play without a lot of risk because you have the Rise ulti to get out anyway.
Fair. Good that they saw RNG moving and got out immediately. Could have been a disaster for G2. Talk about RNG with the potential to take a Baron while stealing it away while you're stuck in the pit. Definitely not where G2 wants to be. They will, of course, spot out the control ward and tunnel there as well. Trick spotted by the Sapling, and just both teams continuing back to the Baron dance. And interesting that we find ourselves in this position at this point in the game. Sven versus Uzi, it feels like, for one team fight to win it all, but Xiaohu may be looking to make his mark.
And I also want to talk about the difference between a Maokai and a Gnar in these fights here. It is much harder for Expect to have big impact. He needs to time his jumps, his Mega Gnar, his ulti, almost perfectly to have the same impact you're going to see from a Maokai who can point on click on a target and then apply a ton of follow-up CC very easily right after that.
And when you equate, honestly, Gnar and Maokai as champions, Gnar is definitely tilted towards the laning portion, the ability to auto with the Hyper and the Frozen Mallet in a team fight. In the ideal sense, he'll do maybe a little bit more as the 5-man Gnar from Hornster than Let Me, but the reliability and the fact that he can get in there with the new ultimate and do work means that Let Me, really, if he's forced in fights, the true 5v5, if RNG initiates them, how can you expect to have everything in order to make the same sort of play?
Yeah, and because G2 are now feeling weaker here as a 5-man unit for the reasons we highlighted, they're giving up the control. They've had to, like, their comp got ahead in the early game. They could have tried to push even deeper down towards the tier 2 towers, but we talked about how difficult it is in the current meta to do it. So they were kind of waiting for Baron, and it bought time for RNG, and now RNG have taken control.
It feels like Ryze is the only champion that can kind of push past the mid lane, because we know that the river has been littered with control wards, and that control ward line is a you shall not pass sign for what we've seen from G2 in the past 10 minutes.
Interesting position they find themselves in. Xiaohu splitting up, pushing that wave. Meanwhile, Expect pushing on the bottom side, but not confident enough to push any further than that. Starting up a slower push, ready to move back to the team. Not looking to play to the side lane, just ready at any moment to fight that 5v5 alongside his teammates.
And it's all just these small wards being placed in the Baron pit. That will only last you so long if you're RT2 eSports, because eventually you will have to walk into this river without any vision and risk RNG opening up with a Twitch out of nowhere, just destroying your backline.
Approaching a second Zeal item as well. Uzi just gets scarier and scarier. Sven may have had control in the early game using the demolitionist properties of the Tristana. But now Uzi in the late game, the unknown factor of the Twitch, where is he going to pop up? The ability to hit multiple units feels like it just gives him such a clear edge in these fights.
Both to engage and also to get safe Baron vision. RNG have to find a way to park deep wards in the red side jungle of G2, something they have not been able to do. Last ward was on the Raptors, just cleared on screen, so that does continue to extend the game. Finding a way to pull that off is going to be difficult. They could take the inner mid lane turret. Baron becomes so much more straightforward for RNG.
Or if G2 can find a way to get vision control in the Baron pit itself, make sure there are no wards from RNG, they can still use this teammate to blast cone over the wall into the Baron pit and use the Rise ulti to get out again in case RNG show up. There are ways to unsurprise them. They're actually going for a fight instead.
Burks moving in, looking to pick off MLXG. Is quite tanky, but the whole team is here, ready to find a pick onto the jungler. This could mean the Baron, but he's going to make it out. Now they're trying to turn it. Uzi on the backside. The assassin switch. Expect has something to say, but he's already out of the fight. He's been knocked back. That is a massive win coming in for RNG. Perks firing back for the side of G2, but with Sven already dead, there's not a lot of options left. Uzi's cleaning up house. He's looking for a triple, but Xiaohu's the one to bring it home.
One of the first times we've seen Uzi skulking around for a team fight. He finds it on his turn. Mithy dies with everything up because he dies in an instant. RNG being chanted around Wuhan. They're going to get a lot from this, RNG.
No time for the Baron, don't even need it. They have an inhibitor in their sights. They know the death timers. They know what's open to them. They're gonna break open the base at G2. 34 minutes it may have taken, a losing early game, but RNG is in control.
And they're gonna take both the sides here. You think 2 inhibitors is very possible. Still 5 seconds for Sven.
See, let me and the rest of RNG.
Being respectful.
Definitely very respectful. I actually think going for the base made sense to say, you know what, it's not about forcing a Baron fight because we want to have a Baron fight. It's more about getting an objective here. But we see G2 notice that Jace was near the Baron pit, so they thought they could take a 4v5 team fight, but they lose track of Uzi. This is why it was so hard for G2 to ever push forward, and they just die instantly. Uzi even got a few hits on the Sven.
And it's just absurd how much damage the Twitch is able to do at this point in the game. Uzi feels untouchable. When G2 aren't prepared for him, everything falls apart.
And we haven't seen this Twitch that often. Oh, G2 straight on Baron.
MLXG 3K drop, and the ulti is going to go in. Who's going to take it out at the end? G2's going to get it, and they get out with style.
Well,
Quick call.
That's a different one. That's a cliffhanger change right there.
Everyone from RNG, after they took down that tower, just recalled, went back to base, and G2 rushed it down. Had to accept the risk that MLXG was in there, could maybe even get it, but G2 burst it down, and they felt behind. They felt like they had to do something crazy.
Hey, when your back's against the wall, sometimes you got to flip a coin. Sometimes you got to take a chance, risk it all. But G2 able to secure it, able to get out, and suddenly the game is even, or at least feels like it once again.
Well, we're going to get another fight now around the Elder Drake. Uzi, 4 items fully completed and a QSS. We saw the damage in the last one. A few crits, and Sven or Mithy, they're both dead. They're finding someone.
Yomu's looking to pick off Mithy. They saw how easy it was last time, how squishy the Lulu was. That feeling to be Uzi going in. Perks is in trouble. Does he have the Zanyas? Doesn't even need it. Is going to get healed up by the Redemption, but the ultimate not available for Uzi yet. It is, however, on the way. Expected he gets locked down before he can go Mega. Could be everything. MLSG takes so much damage. Meganar leaping in. Who can he throw back? It's Uzi into the wall. That's a 3-man. Not going to be able to find much else. Spargo start play activated. Sven free hitting onto the backside. Uzi going off where he can, but G2 is cleaning up the rest of his team. He's been zoned out of the fight. GA proc for Xiao. Let me doing what he can. Expecting forward. Mini-Nars on the way. Locked up. Xiao trying to turn it back onto Mithy. Perks not going down yet. Uzi is alive at full health, though. He has returned to the fight.
He is ulted now.
RNG has to back off. He's waiting for the ball. He's trying to turn it. Double kill coming in from Sven. He's going to back off as well. Both 80 carries living through the fight.
Uzi was holding on and waiting for the spray and pray. Did not have the movement speed or the ultimate available at the same time, and thus was not able to open up in a manner like he wanted to. Very good from G2. The moment the first auto attack with spray and pray came through, everyone backed away. No value for RNG.
Exactly, Sven just shot Uzi away out of range with this one. MLXG was the man who got caught at first because RNG was splitting up. They tried to take down Perks, no ulti from the Twitch to actually do it. G2 now with 3 Drakes will also get the Elder Drake. It's a big turnaround for them.
Still a minute and 20 seconds left on Baron. 4-stack Elder Drake, 180 bonus damage. Next fight for RNG could be do or die, but it's going to take G2 to siege. It's going to take G2 to dive. I don't think they're going to take the risk.
They got about a quarter of the Baron buff as well, so bringing up the minions, hoping for at least an bot lane turret. Push up for that. That seems pretty risk-free.
RNG picking their battles. Doesn't look like this is going to be one of them.
They can't know that Jace is on blue buff at this point, so they'll be respectful, G2.
Now a brief pause, a brief breath before our next big fights. 40 seconds left on the Baron. Elder Dragon buff still powerful, but does not just let you walk through an inhibitor tower for free.
And it's fun to see the difference in fights here. Sven are forced to hit the tank in front of him, and he needs enough time to take down that tank. While Uzi, because of his ulti with Twitch, can actually sneak around as well and then hit almost everyone on the side of G2. So Uzi, much more of a threat for the entire G2 team. Sven just about one target at a time.
And note that since we saw Uzi delete members, Warden's Mail, and a Bramble Vest, also the completed Randuin's for Trick, so the tankiness...
Uzi's up here.
Again, he's trying to pull back. Perks hungry for the play, but not going to move too far forward. Knows he'll get out damage in the pure 1v1. Uzi at a terrifying point in the game.
We also can't forget the battle of the mid laners. playing adjacent late game team fights, it's very, very difficult. You are so squishy. When you jump into melee form to deal proper damage, you just end up dying very quickly. We saw Perkz in the last fight find Xiaohu, take him down first. That is going to be a problem for RNG, so they're going to rely on Uzi's damage. Let's see the fight again. And
this is the first time when they turned on to Perkz, so they could burn him down, he doesn't die, and G2 actually gets access to members. It's been impossible for them before. They've been denied actual fights where they could take the lead, and this time they turn to MXG, and RNG a bit all at sea.
Exactly, MXG using his dash to deal a bit more damage was really not smart, so it meant he couldn't get out of the fight. Right here, G2 cannot get onto Uzi, he's so far back, triggers a fine time, but they're on to the Jace instead, and then the Maokai right after.
Sven may not be an AoE threat, but closest target he can deal with. You cannot imagine how frustrated Uzi was when 300 to 500 health members were lining up. He did not have ultimate until just now, and wasn't able to get the maximum value that he would have just a moment earlier.
Heal burn just for the movement speed steroid. A nice input buffer there from Sven to get out of the CC coming in from MLXG's ult, but we can see the story of this game in this damage graph. 80 carries are king.
Two of the best 80 carries in the world fighting against each other. Everyone else here just trying to help them, trying to set them up to succeed in this game.
Now it becomes a lot about Baron again. Spawning in 2 minutes, RNG will push up mid. We talked about late when G2 could actually balance damage with tankiness. Feels like we're getting closer. Still could be some magic from Uzi, but G2 can stack armor confidently at this point.
Except for Sven and Mythi.
Sure.
Not really able to get enough to make a big difference. So if the Twitch is not under control, he will get to them. Constant information and communication about where did you last see Uzi, where is he moving in this fight. G2 eSports will struggle to 5-on-5 hard-on engage if they don't see the Twitch first.
And you also take your steps, right, the Fisher, when it comes to control wards on your flanks. They can be skirted around, but you can do your best to deny Twitch getting access to the backline. Shouldn't happen when you're fighting around the areas they are. They're sitting next to their inhibitor, waiting for information. They don't need to be further out, so why walk up if you're G2 and risk the rat ruining your day?
And it's just insane how much impact a good Twitch player can have on a game, because it's not only just in the late game fights. Early on, we talked about how Expect was afraid when it comes to pushing his lane too far because Uzi might show up in stealth with the Twitch here. If you don't have control in at least 2 lanes that are pushed far down to know exactly where the AD carry is, it stops you from playing very aggressive on the map. And a lot of credit to Uzi and his performance so far.
Small note, Ming wasn't able to sweep the one ward around the Baron there that you can see on the mini-map. That was something that maybe Uzi will walk over if he's looking for a flanking position. Probably safer to stand behind your tanks, and Uzi is spotted here. This ward has not been seen.
Uzi on the way. Second that Baron spawns, Twitch can cut through it quickly. The whole team is there to back him up.
Seen now.
Will get spotted out. They know they're in control of the pit, but they still don't know where Uzi is. Not even going to auto-attack the ward. No need to reveal himself. G2 feeling not so confident in this movement.
And G2 is staying still in the mid lane. They gotta move fast here.
Well, they group up in that funnel. Twitch can just let it rip and cut through the teams, but RNG aren't going to set that up. Not worried about it. Just want to play the slow game, looking for a juicy opportunity.
Very large wave in the bottom lane that Ledme will have to go down and kill as well. Not a problem for him as the Maokai. Important that RNG killed the blast cone behind the Baron, stopping G2 from using that to get into this pit again.
And that's the cool thing, is that an objective for them, honestly, was killing the blast cone. Not usually, but now you can only go one way with the Rise ultimate. The Realm Warp will take you in or out. You will not have the blast cone and then the ability to Realm Warp out. And that is pretty significant. This is another thing that RNG doesn't have to respect.
And I like the fact that Sven is going Essence Reaver in this game here. You need cooldown reduction for your Q. You want to have that bonus attack speed as often as possible in the fights. Another one as well is his ulti. Talk about it after. Baron is started. Let me coming from behind.
The MLXG is here. He's just down at the front line. Xiaohu dishing out as much damage as he possibly can. Leads into the pit. Redemption is there to back him up. Baron is dropping, but no one is taking it yet. They're backing off. Uzi's going in. Expect needs to go mega, but it's too little too late. Uzi is cutting through G2. Expect finally going to knock Uzi to the wall, but it does not matter. Perkz get out for free, but it's G2 who pay the price.
It's not a Penta, but it feels like one. The crowd knows how big that was. The inhibitor already exposed. Deficio with his hands up. Uzi did it again.
Exactly. RNG saw G2 start the Baron and said, thank you very much, G2. You're lining yourself up for Uzi to just kill you. So easy for him to get that quadra kill and take down the entire G2 eSports lineup.
Perks grasping at straws, RNG bringing it home. Might not even need the minion wave to close this one out, but they've got one just in case. It was a rough early game. G2 outmaneuvering them around the map, but they did not lose hope or focus. RNG reminding people why they are the representatives from China, showing us exactly what they can do and cleaning up their week with a 3-0 performance.
This is a Royal Never Give Up unlike no other. Smart macro, game winners in multiple positions, and in a meta where you shield an AD carry. One of the greatest to ever hit the rift. Wuhan explodes, Royal Never Give Up, 3-0 up, and looking outstanding.
They just wanted to get to late game. They just wanted Uzi to get 3 items. They didn't care about the armor stacking on some of the G2 members. They knew Uzi would find the correct positioning to hit everyone.
People talk about bold predictions, people tweet them out. I don't think anyone would have said that RNG would be played better team League of Legends. I'm not talking about sick outplays, smart macro League of Legends than first Samsung Galaxy and now G2. We thought we understood what RNG were, and they're taken out of that box and suddenly in a league of their own.
Patience so many times, not doubling down, being happy, just getting a flash and a cleanse in an exchange instead of committing for a full
blast
5v5.
cone.
Getting a blast cone.
What's important?
Those little things that make the difference. And this is not the team that would go in on a 5v5 opportunity. They saw the goal deficit. They knew what they needed to play towards, and they waited, and they were patient.
And we got to turn it over to G2 as well. We see some of these issues we've seen before where it becomes too slow. It becomes too passive. You allow the enemy team to get back in the game. You give them a chance to set up their carry to succeed, and then a super greedy Baron call in the end. When you start that Baron, you sit 5-man together with 0 chance of knowing where Uzi is, and then stopping Uzi as well when he opens up.
But the Fisher, we talked to analysts, we talked to players, we talked to coaches, and all of them say, why are people sleeping on G2? They're really good. They were really good in this game, but the group is so competitive.
Definitely is the case. Well, to get some more insight on that game, we're going to send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Dracos. And in the final game of the week 1 of group stages, RNG come out on top, moved to 3-0, total control of the group. But they did it by investing into Uzi, the world-class AD carry, the guy who's been to Worlds so many times, has so much experience on this stage, and he pulls it off in the final team fight on Twitch. With that, we're going to pull up that final team fight right one more time, relive it. This replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
And now it's just a question. The casters said of themselves, look at that. That is a penta that Uzi can smell. G2 are all grouped up. They went for the Desperation Baron, and it's 1, it's 2, it's 3. Can he go all the way? And Perks denies.
I was so sad, to be honest, when Perks got out of there, just because you wanted to see Uzi get the penta. Could this crowd have been any more excited, though, really?
Could Uzi have been any more excited? Look at that.
Well, I mean, go for
RNG's finally solidifying themselves as the top dog in this group. As Papa was mentioning, what team were we going to get? Well, they just dismantled Samsung, and even though G2 was pretty good in this game, they were better. They, as a team, played around Uzi so well that it seemed like only Sven and his ultimate was the answer to him.
And honestly, I had a lot of concerns and a lot of questions. You know, Uzi went into the LPL finals. He was 2 games up. He has never won a domestic championship, and he gets reverse swept. Uzi has a reputation. He's known as kind of being that drama queen sometimes, that he can have these outbursts on stage. We've seen the emotional reactions. Those are the emotional reactions you want to see from Uzi. When he's screaming, when he's laughing, when he's smiling. And I'm just so happy to see the evolution of this player as he's matured and come into kind of that captain's helm almost for his team.
I mean, it's fantastic, but to be fair, it didn't come all that easily for RNG here. We are going to take a look at another replay. This one does go in favor of RNG, but we're going to follow that up with a G2 stab at a Baron.
And I think so much of this game, to me, came down to the effectiveness of the front line from RNG. When you compare how much Maokai and Sejuani were able to get done in comparison to the Gnar, and the Rek'Sai, it's just not even close. And the anti-synergy coming through here, Tristana actually alting Uzi away from that Gnar All-2C.
Yeah, and unfortunately, replays like this, I know we just had back-to-back, it doesn't show how well G2 actually played this game. Because if you go back to the early game, they were so strong. They were running tempo, they had the Rift Herald, first tower, you know, everything was lined up for them, and it was just RNG looking for these team fights. And for me, it's so interesting about how the teams approach the different objectives. You know, G2, they're like, oh, we've got more men on the side of the map, we've got the pressure advantage, the wording advantage, let's move it around. And RNG are like, did we hit the CC? Okay, kill him.
Right, but you see that fight won by RNG, and you would pretty much assume that they roll through to the victory fairly easily from there. No, not the case. G2 respond. They end up with the Baron. Let's take a look at this one. Very intelligent call here.
And this is the call that G2 realizes that RNG is not on the map, so they can go ahead and rush this. But the cool thing about it is that the Rise ultimate is available, so they can burst it down, no threat of a steal, and they escape. This is just a picture-perfect Baron rush, utilizing the tools at their disposal. And that's accessible because G2 had better wave control of the side lanes this entire game. RNG had smaller windows of opportunity where they had to look for fights. Many times we thought, were they going to go for Baron? When Dragon was available, they chose to just go for the safer place, rely on the scaling of the Twitch, and just know that one team fight was all that it was going to take.
It means that there's faults, that you can still break RNG. There is this Achilles heel in the way that they like to play. I'm glad that they faced, you know, the patient, slow play style, and they were able to break it, force G2 to play their style, come into that Baron, but a smarter team can play around this.
And while I do think we had a lot of high highs and some incredible team fighting, I think, you know, talking about positive for G2, I think their bot lane was fantastic. Somewhere I do have to levy some criticism is how much did Gnar really get done, right? Gnar was pretty much going even with a Maokai in lane. The Maokai's teamfight effectiveness is so much higher than that of the Gnar, in my opinion. It's easier to execute. It's more consistent. And Gnar is going for a split push build. It's not as though he's rushing at Randuin's and going into a Thornmail and trying to build to act even as a frontline. He went Frozen Mallet, Black Cleaver. What did Expect get done in the side lane that game?
Well, not only is Expect not really the main carry for G2, but when you're playing a split pusher and you're up against an invisible Twitch, it becomes really tough for you to say, oh, I'll take the side lanes and just hit the turret while everybody's missing on the map. That's a fed Twitch that is going to find you and murder you if you get caught out. So the entire pick in itself is just failing to recognize that Twitch is effectively one of the counters to a split pusher.
We heard it from the casters. You get into that late game, and it was noticeable that G2 was too afraid. They were afraid, rightfully afraid, to push beyond certain points because of the threat of that Twitch at any point. And to your point around the Gnar, I mean, many other tanks available at that point, with looking into double AD champions, Jason, Twitch, perhaps a Shen. I know we're all a little bit wishy-washy on the Shen pick, but there were other true tanks available that may have lent themselves a bit more to the team fights that this game ended up being decided by.
Yeah, and there is a way to execute around the Gnar. Yes, you put them in the side lane, you force pressure, you know, they have to get them to respond, but that also means that you need to find the pick then. You know, if they're responding to the pressure that Gnar has created on a side lane, it means that Perkz needs to step up and be the hard CC, that he can find that Twitch and pop him. But Uzi just did a great job kind of slipping around, you know, the fog of war, hiding, using his stealth appropriately.
Now, let me ask you this. The way this group is shaking out, we got 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, and 0-3. What's your assessment of the group, though? Because I feel like, you know, even at the 1 and 2, G2 has shown us some pretty spectacular glimpses, again, in this game, kind of getting out to a lead and showing RNG what's up. But they did get dismantled by Samsung Galaxy. There's been a whole lot of trading back and forth. It's hard to judge the power level of this group.
But I don't want to just say that because Samsung beat G2 that they're automatically better. Like, yes, they were the favorites coming into this, and yes, most analysts would back Samsung over G2, but G2 have shown more consistency over the course of their 3 games than Samsung have. So I'm waiting towards G2 in terms of where this breaks down in the group.
Your way towards them. For me, I think RNG is just on the afterburners at this point. They are just getting so far ahead with the 3-0. That's a pretty good buffer zone for them to get out of the groups, and they can start thinking about, okay, Fenerbahce is most likely going to be a victory for them. That's a 4-0 team that will likely have a first seed getting out of group stage. just because of the way that they have played, and the two teams below them that are struggling so much to find a win with their identity that they have brought to the table.
And I mean, current form aside, G2 is in a tough position because they are 1 win down. Whether or not Samsung played well this week, they are sitting at 2-1 in the groups, and they have an advantage going into the second week. They also have a few days to fix their problems.
Absolutely. It's how the chips fell, right? At the end of the day, they've got the record that is superior to G2, and so G2's got some work to do in week 2 if they plan to get out of it. What exactly would you pinpoint in G2's play, though, to improve upon? Because as you mentioned, you said they, to you, look more consistent in a sense than Samsung Galaxy, so it's kind of hard to say, well, you got to improve on this laundry list of things to actually, you know, make it out of the group itself.
To me, it looks like decisiveness, but I come from the LPL, so the lens that I have is that when you have the lead, it's understanding that you have it and then forcing that lead. G2 do a good job forcing their leads around. Again, you know, we have more members on this side of the map, so we can pressure this, or we can take this tower, we can chip it here, but they don't necessarily have the same consistency in their team fighting decisiveness. We need to fight right now. We can engineer a pick like this.
Well, as we've arrived at the end of week 1, let's go ahead and pull up the standings, where we've got Longzhu pulling ahead in Group B, with Immortals gaining a lead on the Gigabyte Marines and Fnatic. Over in Group C, RNG have the edge after 3 straight wins. And in Group D, there's a close fight in the top between TSM, Misfits Gaming, and Team WE, who are all tied after the first round robin. That's the group I want to talk about, the 3-way tie for first in Group D.
I mean, I think TSM and their fans always are going to be getting a little bit nervous. I know that last year at Worlds, all the NA teams were sitting at 2-1 after week number 1. And despite the fact that I still feel like NA has improved, I still feel like this is a realistic performance from them, and that even if we repeat these, you know, these records, we will get out of groups. It's always in the back of your head. 2 years ago, 0-10 in the second week of groups. Last year, 2 of the teams flaming out in the second week, and only Cloud9 making it through, where they then lost to Samsung in the quarters.
For me in Group D, it's the Misfits. They have been improving every single game and taking that game off of TSM. The fact that they were so much cleaner than in the previous times and were showing signs of a Misfits team that was reminiscent of their EULCS performances with a lot of confidence, not just in their playstyle and picks, shows a team that is not going to hesitate or struggle against Team WE or the Flash Wolves. And if they can get a repeat, the PoE kryptonite of TSM, this team that people had placed at the bottom of the table as a wild card almost of all rookies, all of a sudden actually has a realistic chance of making out of this group at maybe even first.
And I've got to echo you, because to me the most important part about Misfits is the game-to-game improvement.
Yes.
When you look how bad they looked in game number 1 to how well they played against TSM, it's like, damn, the sky's the limit.
That said, I also want to put a magnifying glass on Flash Wolves, because yes, they are 0-3, so it's not likely that they'll make it out of the group. Still technically possible.
Absolutely.
But the thing is now they can definitely play spoiler, and all 3 of these teams didn't have the cleanest games away from Flash Wolves. So just because it is a tie for first place doesn't mean you can overlook the LMS representatives.
We're going to put a pause on this conversation because we're about to send it down to Shox, who is ready with RNG support.
Thank you very much, Dash. Of course, I wanted to get a word with someone from RNG after going 3-0 and looking like one of the most impressive teams in the tournament going into next week of groups. Ming, what do you think has been the best thing about your guys' play this week? What has been going so well for RNG that you were able to have such an impressive first week of groups?
首先恭喜你们现在目前是3比0的战绩，然后想问一下说，你觉得 RNG 这几场比赛当中取胜的关键是什么？你们到底做对了什么，能够让你们获得这么大的胜利？
我觉得是我们中间一些抉择啊，然后还有一些机会能力都抓得特别好吧。然后我们之前有些时候沟通也是没做好，然后现在细节啊、沟通啊做得很好，然后训练也加大了自己的训练量吧。然后现在赢得也最终进出效果了吧。
So we were able to actually play the game well and also capitalize on enemies' opportunities. When they gave an opportunity, we were able to do stuff with it. And also off of the stage, we've been practicing a lot, and we've been trying a lot of different things. And we're gonna try to practice more.
All right, yeah. Well, one thing that has been going really well is the bottom lane. You together with Uzi has been very, very impressive. And I heard that you're also a big admirer of Uzi, even though you're next to him in lane. What has it been like going through this experience? You've only played together for about a year and then not too many games. How has it been playing with Uzi on stage in this World Championship?
所以你跟小狗搭档的话也是有1年了，而且听说你是一个小狗的粉丝，基本上算个粉丝吧，所以你们天天坐在一起。那这1年来的话，你觉得跟小狗一起打比赛的话，尤其现在在全世界这个全球总决赛的舞台上一块打比赛的话，有什么感受吗？
我觉得 感受就是小狗特别照顾我吧，然后我自己打不好的时候，他会跟我说一些鼓励的话，然后就说没关系，然后而且他也教会了我很多东西，我这一年来学的东西都基本很多都是他教的吧，所以也很感谢他吧。然后现在我也想付出自己的努力，然后回报他，然后尽量保护好他吧。
So this year playing with Uzi, I think that he's been really taking care of me. He's taught me a lot of things. And also every time when I'm feeling down, he's always encouraging me to do better. He's telling me it's okay. I feel like he's taught me so much. Everything I've learned this year was all taught by Uzi. So now I think it's my turn to give back to him and protect him with my life in the games.
Oh, fantastic. And you have been protecting him with your life, but I have a stat for you because you have been deathless across the group stage so far. You're the only member on your own team to not have died, and you're the only person of 2 players in the entire tournament to not have died yet. BDD is the other one. So did you know that, and are you actively trying to keep that record now?
他说他想给你一个比较有趣的一些就是数据，说你目前的话呢是你们队上的唯一一个是零死亡的一个选手，然后呢，同时又是本次全球总决赛目前来讲的话，唯二的2个没有死过选手，另外一个是 BDD。那想问一下说，你知道你这个数据吗？以及说你是不是想继续保持这个零死的数据呢？
我觉得看队友需求吧。然后如果觉得我队友需要我上去玩别的英雄上去卖的时候，我觉得我还是会义无反顾的上去卖吧。因为我觉得这种 KDA 其实也没多大作用，但我想要的是团队的胜利，而不是想要这种 KDA 吧。
He said it all depends on what my team wants from me. If they want me to play a champion and go and sacrifice myself, I think I will go and sacrifice myself. To me, KDA really doesn't matter. I just want to make sure that my team can get the win in the end.
Well, that is the right answer, I suppose. Thank you very much, Ming. Fantastic job by RNG, and thank you, Lexi, for your help this week. Now we're going to go back over to the guys at the desk.
Love to hear about the relationship between Uzi and him. It's so nice when veteran players are actually acting kind of like that older brother, bringing people into the fold, teaching them, learning with them, and supporting with them, because I think that it's such a high-pressure environment in pro gaming. To have someone like that really can make a huge difference.
And speaking of high pressure, you know, the fact that Ming had to come in after Mata of all people. Yeah. Mata was exactly the shot caller of the team. Ming is also the shot caller for RNG. So when you see them make those very clever macro decisions, it's that guy that's pulling the strings.
And I absolutely love his answer to the final question. If my team needs me to play a champion and go in and sacrifice myself, I will. Now I'm just hoping that that'll actually happen. Let's see something like an Alistair or a Thresh, no more Jannas and Lulus. It's time now to go ahead and highlight some of the individual performances from the first week of the group stages. Here are your best of the Rift, brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Now these 4 players made a huge impact for their teams. They are SKT's Wolf, Longzhu's BDD, RNG's Uzi, and TSM's Hauntzer. First up, it's SKT's support Wolf, who's looking to take his 3rd title in a row after a good start to the group stage.
I think you have to look no further than this play to say that Wolf is worthy of being the best of the Rift. But it's not even just that. I think he was fantastic. He was extremely consistent throughout the laning phase. I think he gave so much help over to actually Bang to enable him to carry a lot of these games in later stages.
And that's exactly what Wolf and the rest of SKT can bring to the table. They are clutch, and that's what wins championships, being able to perform the most optimal play at the right moment.
One of the biggest comebacks in world's history from a deficit at 25 minutes. Next up of the newcomers we are excited about going into the group stage was Longzhu's BDD, who's done well so far in his first world championship.
And you have to remember that BDD came in as basically the person that could live up to Faker, and he has done so by not dying at all. A 23.0 KDA in this tournament. He's got to play Ryze, he's got to play his Talia and his Galio, and he's such a pillar for the team. He's basically so calculated in the way that he positions in the team fights, always maximizing damage. And when you have a mid laner that is not even a threat for you to think about, should we go after him, do we not, then everybody else in the team can shine and he can just support them with.
He's deathless. You got to go after him. He's one of 2 deathless players in the tournament.
You heard Ming. It doesn't
matter.
You got to
ruin the KDA.
But it's It's about redefining the KDA player. You know, he's not just the selfish KDA player. He's also playing the entire map.
Very much so. Our next player is RNG's AD carry Uzi, who's looking to take his first Worlds title after falling short in his previous attempts.
I mean, he didn't get the pin to that last game, but that said, we do have to talk about the legend himself. He's been to 2 Worlds finals. He's been to multiple LPL finals, has never taken the title, but his performance speaks for itself. This guy has been so consistent and so good for so long. He is a legacy player. He is a legend. He is an all-star and a superstar.
And it's the meta for him, right? I mean, if he's going to succeed, it's going to be in this meta. Finally, we have TSM's top laner in Hanser, who made a statement with some big plays in the group stage, coming up clutch in key fights for his team.
Not only does he talk big, he's able to back it up. This guy has been so incredibly confident in the 2017 year, coming up massive, especially in this Flash Wolves game. He really was the catalyst for TSM, enabling them to stay around, enabling them to buy enough time for Double to scale up and for them to come back.
And to think that last year, he was the point of criticism for the team, an underperformer at Worlds, and then here in week 1 of the group stages, he's making the players to watch the best of the Rift here. Be sure to keep an eye on these players as we continue through the group stage next week. From solo kills to explosive team fights, you can follow Best of the Rift in more places than ever before. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Love those action shots too, by the way. Remember that we start a little earlier next week, kicking things off on Thursday with a fight between the Gigabyte Marines and Immortals at 12 p.m. local time. That's 9 p.m. Pacific time and 6 a.m. Central European Summer Time. So set those alarms now. The teams in Group C will play their final games on day 1, and we'll get the rest of our quarterfinalists later in the week. So let's take a look at this Group C, as it is going to be that's Group B's schedule right there.
That's definitely
Group B. Let's talk about Group B.
I'm still excited about Group B. Look at all of that yellow. I want to see every single Gigabyte Marines game because I want to see if they have anything left in the tank.
And I think for the North American fans, a lot of it is, can Immortals keep up this pace? Because they looked very good, I think, both against Fnatic and against Gigabyte, and they showed some hope against Longzhu. It would be pretty exciting if someone could take them down.
They showed some hope, but Longzhu, like Misfits, have been improving every single game as well. Perfect gaming Fnatic at under 20. And I feel like this team is now at the point where they could just start flexing their muscles and say, look at all the different champions we play. Look at all the strategies. Hey, who wants to battle us in the next round?
Yeah, but at the same time, don't you want to kind of keep some things on the DL? You don't want to give away everything.
No, you flex everything.
See, what we want is them
games.
to pick some really random stuff. Then Immortals can get a win.
We got a lot of random stuff this week. Hopefully we get some more random stuff next week. With the first week of the group stage coming to an end, let's take a look at some of the world's big plays sent into us so far. Brought to you by Acer Predator. First up, it's Hanser's great engage against the Flash Wolves. Amaranthus tweeted, Hanser, 5-man Gnarl, what a god. Let's take a look.
Doublelift gets himself out of the way as Kasa lets the ulti rip. MMD, there's a redemption. He's going to try and reset it off Spent low, but not dead to the Taric ultimate. But defensively, my god, a 5-man Gnar ultimate. He's going to secure the team by win. I have a good stun here. I'm going. We can fight. Go! Close second. Quickly! Go for mana. Nice. We can go forward. Stay.
If you wanted to convince any one of your friends to play Gnar, you show them that video, because that is the most perfect Gnar ultimate you are going to get, especially on the world stage.
You've also got to love how nonchalant they are about it. It's not like, oh my god, nice Gnar. It's literally nothing. It's just like, oh, good job.
Absolutely stellar play for Hanser and TSM there. Next up, Royal Never Give Up pulled off a huge win against Samsung Galaxy. Only Dan H tweeted, my god, Uzi is a monster.
What a flanking by Shahal and MLXG. Actually, a stun lands on the core. JJ ulti lets it rip, and Uzi gets the kill. Now jumps in on towards Ambition, going to try and clean one up. Uzi grabs the double kill. Going to keep moving forward. Stun lands it. Oh my god, Uzi! Triple kill. He's not going to get it all, but he might grab the quadra. Kuve gets out of the way, and RNG smash the team fight.
And it's not just you who thinks Uzi's a monster. Pastry kind of losing his voice there a little bit. Maybe cranked it up to a 15.
He's got a triple kill. He's got a quadra kill. We're just waiting for that pentakill out of Uzi. Maybe it'll come sometime in week 2. SKT's mid laner Faker has come to Worlds to prove himself yet again as the best player of all time. Tori Lack said, I think EDG made Faker mad. Damn, after the unkillable Demon King's incredible shockwave in the turnaround fight.
They're saving the Drake for now. They got two already. Bang is hiding. He's coming.
Bang looking to come in. Here comes your initiation. They're right through.
Oh my God.
Faker Shockwave will find them all.
나 이 시간 볼게. 지금. 볼게. 잤나? 여기 렉사이 노플이야. 렉사이. 나는 이거 자야.
They did it! They fought back from a 9,000 gold deficit and won a team fight against all expectations.
And while the Faker Shockwave was the most flashy out of those plays, it was the team coordination out of SKT, especially the trust in Wolf. The team said, Wolf said he's got a good one. Let's trust him in. The ball follows up after him, and that's a game-winning play to shut down EDG's dreams.
For our final replay, Power of Evil came up clutch for Misfits Gaming against TSM. Ad Fatiga IYT wrote, "Damn, Power of Evil, you're a beast. Well played, Misfits."
Baron down to half. TSM still looking for more. Sejuani ulti comes out. Alfari the target. Spirit's Refuge keeping him alive. But double lift is down! And Bjergsen runs from Maxlore as Misfits look to clean up the rest of TSM and end this game!
I'm from Justin. Come on.
I mean, Power of Evil finding the angle there on LeBlanc straight onto double lift. Pretty much completely sealed the game, and he was great the whole way through.
I mean, you said it, Crumbs. Perhaps the kryptonite to TSM. It makes that group very interesting for them to have taken that game today. Be sure to keep sending us your World's Big Plays at LO Esports using the hashtag Worlds2017 as the group stage continues next week. Don't forget to tune in for Worlds tonight in a couple minutes as Riv, Rusty, and Kobe break down the final day of the week here in Wuhan. Ladies and gentlemen, or you guys, ladies and gentlemen, as if I'm starting the show over again.
Been a long week.
It has been a long week. I asked for all of their big plays. I was wondering if there was any play that stuck out to you guys, a top performer of the week, or maybe one specific play that really caught your eyes.
Locking in Nasus.
Locking
I think that
in
was a big play.
Nasus.
Didn't even matter what happened in the rest. That was just the cherry on top.
I thought the G2 Baron sneak into using the round warp to get out was awesome because you rarely get to see a high-octane moment where you put yourself in their shoes. They're thinking, they're coming. We got to burst this down and get out, and it worked.
Absolutely terrifying. We've seen a number of the Ryze ults along with the Zonias to get out of sticky situations. Frost, what about you? Any thoughts here?
Yeah, I was actually a really big fan of the Nasus as well, but it wasn't the lock-in. It was actually when he just made the dive. He's like, just come at me.
Plus 300, 400 stacks in that short amount of time and a game ending as quick as it did. Final point here.
Actually, as another realm warp, the one that teleported Lulu into the feather
oh my God!
was probably my favorite play.
Oh, but I need to go watch that on repeat tonight. Now for myself, the cast, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week for more Worlds 2017. Good night.